Hi everyone, welcome to the second devlog for WhiteBox. I'm going to give you a run through of some of the more significant changes since last time. The most immediately obvious change is that WhiteBox now has a GUI. This means I can start to introduce some interactivity as well as graphical content. I'll give a quick overview of how everything fits together before going into more detail. You still write code in your editor. WhiteBox is not trying to replace your IDE. WhiteBox determines what function you're working on based on the cursor position in your editor. This function is then run in the background based on the arguments provided in the function caller. The black box summary shows what outputs are returned for the given set of input parameters. Outputs include pointer arguments that may have been filled out by the function. The data section is currently the primary source of feedback. It provides information in a similar format to a debugger, which can be queried line by line or with a summary of value changes over time. There are plans for more sections, but I'll have to save them for a future devlog. Let's have a closer look at some of the new features. If you haven't called a function before, WhiteBox will generate default parameters that will show you that your function is at least valid, if not correct, and will give you a starting point for quickly making changes. To this end, it assumes that parameters that are pointers take an array value, as a pointer to a one-element array is equivalent to a pointer to a single data object, and it's easy to edit to add more members. As you edit your code, it's typical to return to functions you've written before to fine-tune their behavior. If WhiteBox has run a function before, it will use the previous function call the next time to minimize the time you spend fussing with the tool and maximize the time you spend editing your code. The black box results have not changed much since the text version, other than now being presented in a tree-like format. Moving on to the data table, I wanted a data representation that users would be able to interpret with minimal time investment in learning the tool. Ignoring some of the columns for the moment, this layout should be familiar from the watch windows of many debuggers. If we move the cursor around in the editor, the data tree updates as though we were stepping through the code. It currently only shows the last value change that occurred on that line, so it's best for quick checks rather than close inspection of loop behavior. The other columns show the line and column of the code that caused the variable to be its current value, the number of values that the variable goes through during the function, and the number of values that the variable has gone through up to the current point. If we take another look, we can see that this is the first and then second of these two values. Stepping through the code, either here or in a debugger, requires you to keep track of how variables are changing value. WhiteBox already has all of the values that the variables go through over the entire run of the function. Let's add the extra dimension of time and show all the changes directly. After a couple of previous UI iterations that tied the changes more closely into the data hierarchy, it became clear that you might want to be able to look at changes at any level of the hierarchy. For instance, the demo pointer itself doesn't change value, but the data it points to does. We might want to look at any time any value in the struct changes, or we might want to focus on the changes only to a specific member. Because all the data is recorded, we can graph changes to simple variables over time. This gives a quick snapshot of how variables are changing. For instance, max num starts at -1 and then takes on the largest value of num that the code has encountered so far. There have been a number of improvements behind the scenes as well, including adding profiling, changing the way I record variable data internally, and reintroducing live reloading, allowing me to iterate faster. I've also been working on plugins for a number of editors, although that'll have to wait until the next video. If you would like me to go into depth about these and other development details, please let me know. Thank you for joining me for another devlog. If you would like to make sure you stay up to date, please join the mailing list and follow us on Twitter. For any questions or comments, you can email me at hi@whitebox.systems, or again contact me on Twitter at whitebox_sys. Thanks for watching, I'll see you on the next video.